Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope you guys are doing good, doing great and pretty awesome. Anyway, let me introduce ourselves. We are from Group 2, literary theory that consists of Donan, Ferry and me, Nurliski, and this occasion we will explain you more about Marxism. Maybe some of you are questioning yourself that like what is Marxism and who is Karl Marx and why he is so popular today. And now, let's get started. Let's begin in first topic. What is Marxism and who is Karl Marx and why he's so popular with his ideology about socialist communism? Karl Heinrich Marx. He is a German philosopher, economist, sociologist and socialist who born in Germany May 5th, 1818. He is a writer. Most of his books possess socialist communist ideology, such as the economic and the philosophical manuscripts, the manifesto of the Communist Party, and the most famous is the Das Kapital. Karl Marx often gave a lot of criticism of economic patterns that have a tendency towards capitalism, such as the economic concepts proposed by Adam Smith, Stuart Mill, David Ricardo, and so on. According to the Marx definition of capitalism, capitalism is an economic system that gives authority to the private or owners of the capital to control capital and develop their business with a minimal government interferences in order to create business more competitive. What about the socialism? Socialism is the opposite of the capitalism, which has a meaning when a population of a group owns and controls means of production and distributes the results proportionally. That is socialism. And based on Marx's definition of the capitalism, he divided capitalism into two classes. It is bourgeois and proletariat. Bourgeois refers to a capitalist who own the means of production and most of the wealth in the society. And the proletariat refers to wage earners who do not own the means of production, but he works to a bourgeois to earn wages from him. Actually, bourgeois exploited the proletarians and makes it the massive profits for them, and because of that, the proletariat has just earned low, very low wages from the bourgeois. Because of this Marxism, there later will be another thought that's similar to Marxism. That is Leninism, which popularized by Lenin, Maoism, which popularized by Mao Zedong, and last but not least, Marxism, which popularized by our former president, Sukarno. Well, according to a definition above, we can conclude that this is differences between capitalists and Marxists. You can see in this the main production are owned by private capital owners and capitalists, and Marxism is like the opposite. The means of production are owned by government or cooperatives, and then the capitalist profits is numero uno, is number one. They just like gives lower wages to the proletariat to earn the high profits. And then Marxists, distribution of the wealthy is equal. Yes. And then the capitalists, there was a little government interference, and the Marxists, the economy is regulated all by government. And then capitalist has limited taxes, which means you can buy all of what you want. it is including health and school education, just like that. And the Marxists is there's high taxes to pay the regulation that education and health are free to everyone, but you must pay high taxes to get for it. And the last, the capitalist is likely making the rich become richer and poor become poorer. And the Marxists, we can say that no social classes, we are equal.
So now in this slide, I'm gonna tell you about what is labor. Labor, or we can say labor power, is the worker's capacity to produce goods and services. A worker must be given a wage or payment of value to his work based on the number of hours worked, whereas the number of working hours of the employee is determined from the time or the average number of hours of work of the community to fulfill their basic life needs, such as feeding, clothing, and shelter. This is based on the classical economic principles of Marx. In other words, the wages or fees that an employee will receive depends on the number of hours the employee works, which is proper or human. For example, if 8 hours of work is sufficient time to feed, clothe, and protect workers each day, then the wages must be paid the equivalent of 8 hours of work. This is done to protect workers' rights, so that they are still fit to work for the next day. And in the next slide, I'm gonna discuss about the relation between proletariat and the bourgeois class. First thing, the bourgeois, or we can say the capitalist classes, are the owners of capital who exploit labor classes. Ownership of capital and its use to exploit labor and expand capital is the key to a capitalist. In essence, a capitalist is a class that has an active role in using their wealth or capital ownership through the exploitation of labor in order to make their wealth expensive. The second class is proletariat. The proletariat, or the labor class, are those who have no other resources than the ability to work with their hands, body, and mind, or we can say labor work. Because these workers do not have the capital to survive, they have to find work with employers to earn income. This means working for a capitalist or bourgeois employer in exploitative social relation. As I mentioned earlier, the working relationship between these two classes is exploitative. The bourgeoisie exploit the proletariat and it occurs continuously. If the employer capitalist is to profit and accumulate capital, wages must be kept low. This means that the proletariat is exploited with the extra time above what is needed to create a living by workers to create products. While the proletariat produce, the products created by these labor classes are taken up by the capitalists and marketed or sold. So the capitalists gain a profit from the products, while poverty still looms over the workers. According to Marx, this occurs every day in the labor process, preventing the working class from acquiring ownership of wealth or capital, and recreating the condition for future exploitation by capitalists.
As we know, social relation is a relationship between humans. Social relation will not work without humans' participation. But what if this human relation is mediated through goods or commodities? This is what is called the social relation described by Karl Marx. In the book Capital, I quote a sentence which states that there is a definite social relation between men that consume in their eyes the fantastic form of a relation between things. Simply, this happens when labor makes a commodity traded by a distributor, then purchased by consumers for a certain amount of money. In that circulation, do you see the relation? Since the producers do not come into social contact with each other until they exchange their products, the specific social character of each producer labor does not show itself except in the act of exchange. That's why commodity is also something mysterious. We don't know who, when, and where this item was created, but we can connect socially with the producer through the exchange of this good. Does this still happen in the present day? Yes. We live in a very big capitalist world. For example, this shirt, I don't know who, when, or where this shirt was created, but I can socially connect to the labor who made this through the commodity. Is literature a commodity? As we know, commodity is a thing that has use value or exchange value. So it depends on the literature. If it has a value that can be used for human satisfaction and can be traded, there are many literary works that have a sale value or for sale. But there are also many literary writings that are not to be commercialized, but only become a work or creation. Is artistic labor the same as the labor described by Marx? First, labor, as explained previously, according to Karl Marx, is the worker that paid by their superiors to produce commodities according to their working hours. So, if artistic labor works under the company and paid to produce works, then it is included as labor described by Marx. But if they work independently, they are not considered as labor described by Marx.